a permanent member of the UN Security Council, and one of the world's most powerful militaries that is rapidly growing its nuclear stockpile. And, yes, a country that poses real national security threats to the United Kingdom. With all that in mind, the absence of engagement is just staggering, a dereliction of duty, because it means that, unlike our allies, we have not been standing up for our interests. Well, no more. It's time for a serious approach.
Well, let's go live to our chief political correspondent, John Craig. Foreign policy, a welcome distraction, perhaps, from the budget fallout, John. But those words we just heard likely to rankle with China hawks.
The China hawks, like Ian Duncan-Smith, Tom Tugendhat and others on the Conservative benches, and indeed Reform in the House of Commons, won't like this one little bit. I mean, there was a large part of this speech was devoted to China, and he did talk about the sort of twin-track approach, if you want, being tough on national security, but at the same time talking to the Chinese. Now, he bemoaned the fact that a British Prime Minister hasn't talked to the Chinese Premier since Theresa May in February 2018. At one point, he talked about the UK needs a China policy that recognises the reality. For years, we've blown hot and cold. The golden age of David Cameron and George Osborne, he said, then flipped to an ice age. And he said we reject that binary choice. So a large part of the speech here was about China. The government is saying that its approach to the rise of China will be central to the PM's foreign policy approach. Tough on national security to enable us to pursue economic opportunities, he said. Now, there was also quite a large part of about Brexit as well. He criticised those Tories and others who want to leave the European Convention on Human Rights. Even some politicians, he's thinking of the Greens leader there, I think, about talking about possibly leaving NATO. That offers grievance rather than hope, a declinist vision of a lesser Britain. He talked about the talks between the various UK ministers and the Chinese. And at one point, it looked as though he was going to confirm that he will visit China early next year, which is what we expect to happen. He talked about other leaders going to China, President Trump, President Macron, Chancellor Merz of Germany. So this was probably the most wide-ranging, perhaps most significant foreign policy speech we've heard from Sir Keir Starmer. Of course, it comes against the backdrop of all the political turmoil over the budget, but it was a serious speech. It will please those who want to see the UK taking a much more interventionist approach, if you like, rather than isolationist. He ended with that very point. He said, in these times, we deliver for Britain by looking outward with renewed purpose and pride, not by shrinking back. In these times, internationalism is patriotism, he said. So his supporters will like what they've heard here, but China hawks and Brexiteers won't like it.